I feel like we're here because a lot of people don't feel welcome in their own schools, in their own communities. And like Yam explained her story, most of us have all been there. We've all felt like we didn't belong, or we just felt like an outsider in somewhere that we should have been welcome and we should have been included.
Hi, my name is Mia Gupta. I am one of your hosts for the first episode of the Shout podcast. I am an 11th grader at SouthFayette High School, and my pronouns are she, her. A little bit about myself is that my favorite color is blue, my favorite animal is a cat, and I'm super excited to be hosting this podcast.
Hi, my name is Adi Basarov. I am super stoked to finally be here for the first ever podcast. I go to SouthFayette Township School District. I'm a 9th grader there. I'm just excited. And my favorite color is blue. And I'm going to say this again, but I'm excited for this. This episode is all going to be about SHOUT's history. So, Mia, if you want to go first, we're going to tell you what is the podcast going to be all about, Mia?
Well, this podcast specifically, like you said, is going to be about the history of Shout. We're going to talk about why Shout was started, how it was started, and some of our future plans and achievements, goals, stuff like that. And on our schedule and to-do list is a little synopsis about the history, an interview with a couple of our OG members, and then events and goals for the future, and we're going to wrap it up. Adi, do you want to talk a little bit about the history of Shout?
Sure. So you're probably hearing from Mia, and we've been saying shout, 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 shout. Well, exactly is shout? Well, shout is an acronym. It stands for Social Handprints Overcoming Unjust Treatments. Shout is a social justice club which spreads the knowledge of diversity, equity, inclusion, and we also embody the handprints and footprints framework. Wow, I cannot talk today. So you're probably wondering, what is a handprint and what is a footprint? Well, let me start off with the footprint. A footprint is an intentional or unintentional act of harm that is placed upon someone or something. How I think of it is it's more of like a carbon footprint. Carbon footprints are bad. Well, the only way to offset it in this case is a handprint. And a handprint is an action that offsets that footprint. I think of it as like a random act of kindness. A random act of kindness goes a long way, and it offsets that footprint. So, you're probably wondering, who started this organization? So, we actually have some of our founders on the call, so let's get to meet them. Hi, guys. Welcome to the Shout podcast. So, first, let us introduce yourself. So, if you could please state your name, if you are in a grade, your position, if you are a teacher or educator, and just tell a little bit more about yourself.
Hello, I'm Yamini Apuri. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a freshman at the University of Pittsburgh studying psychology and gender sexuality and women's studies.
I'll go next. My name is Basham Bijam, but I go by Snow because my name means snowflake. I am also a freshman at the University of Pittsburgh, and I'm majoring in computer engineering with a minor in administration of justice.
And I'm Dr. Herring, and I am the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the South Fayette Township School District, and my pronouns are he and him.
Thank you guys so much. So my first question is directed to Yam, and feel free if you guys want to jump in and add a little bit more. My question is, how and why did you start Shout? What was the purpose behind it?
All right. So I think the origins of Shout and, why I started it go way back to even before, like a couple of months before we started the Student Diversity Leadership Committee, which was the name that we had before Shout. So growing up, I had a very, different childhood compared to a lot of people, I would think. I was born here in Pittsburgh. I lived here until I was 7 years old, and then I moved to Hyderabad, India. I lived there for quite a long time, about 7 years, until I moved back here, back to South Fayette, back to Pittsburgh, and a couple of times I moved here and there after that. So there's a bunch of moving involved in my life, and thanks to that, I kind of got to see the differences in culture between like India, between Pittsburgh, and also I got to observe how I was treated in this community and also how I kind of felt in this community. I think that's a better way to put it. Ever since I was a kid, I write about this in my chapters in our book. But ever since I was a kid, I kind of felt like I was out of place in a way in this district where I was like one of maybe like 12 to 20 Indian kids surrounded by like a lot of white kids. And no one ever really said or did anything to me that, you know, would seem like an overt statement of like my strangeness to this community. But I knew I didn't share like a lot of their similarities, a lot of the culture. I knew that this community wasn't catered to me. It was catered to them and not to me. So that feeling really followed me along throughout my entire life. And I never really knew to question that until like I was a little older. The summer before my senior year of high school, I went to a summer camp with the Pennsylvania Association for Student Councils, you know, to kind of get involved in student government and with the community, honestly. And we had a segment where the camp leaders were talking about how we should really acknowledge and talk about diversity and equity and inclusion in our student councils. And this concept was never really, like, I was never a part of a conversation like this before. And I thought that it was kind of strange that I'd never been a part of this kind of conversation, given that my whole life has been the intersection of diversity, equity, inclusion. And I'm a woman of color, and a lot of things in society isn't catered toward us. And the fact that I was just learning that was kind of mind-blowing to me, that was like the trigger, that was like the spark of the flame, that I realized, you know, I can't be content with where I am right now. Like, I'm not living a bad life. I'm living a happy life, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't strive for equity. That doesn't mean we shouldn't strive for making a place in this community for us, an equal place for us. So that is why starting senior year, I got a hold of a bunch of my friends and I was like, this is what I really want to do. And Snow, one of my best friends, was a part of that conversation, and she was like, you know what, this sounds awesome. Like, I want to be a part of this. And both of us were bouncing ideas off of each other, and we were getting like super excited. So we took that excitement with us and we hit the ground running. How SDLC for us started, or SHOUT now as we call it, we started a committee within the high school student government because we really wanted to get that out there within the high school specifically. We didn't really have any plans for after that, but that was like our stepping stone in a sense. And after we established that and got talking, we met one of the advisors for student government. And he was like, you know what, the work you're doing is very similar to what the diversity, equity, inclusion coordinator is doing and starting. And we were like, there's a position like that? Like, who is that? And he was like, yeah, totally. And he gave us his email ID. And I told Dr. Herring this. I told him before, but I was truly expecting a white man to be in this position. I was very surprised during our meeting when I realized Dr. Herring was the diversity, equity, inclusion coordinator. And I think that really speaks to where our state of mind was, like starting this, where we really thought we were. So it was really open-minding and really a blessing to have met Dr. Herring there that day, because, you know, unbeknownst to like Snow and I versus Dr. Herring, we were like, both parties were trying to start a movement at South Fayette, and we didn't know it. So I think that like really SHOUT took off when the three of us met, and then we met the OG members later on. So when Snow, Dr. Herring, and I met, we like kind of like how Snow and I began, the three of us started bouncing ideas off of each other. And we got really excited about like what we could do in the district, and like how like this was the beginning of something that we really didn't know would turn into this. So it's really exciting for me to think of this like now with 2020 vision, like thinking of us back in that room with like the tiny chairs and how we were discussing where we would be in a couple of months and a couple of years. And here we are speaking like during a podcast. So it's really exciting to think about that. So like having Dr. Herring's support with the administration, being as open to hearing student voices as he is, and for us to like have that support, it was really important. And Dr. Herring also has a bunch of connections outside as well to a lot of important people who are working towards social justice and equity and all of that. So that's really how we got started. And here we are now with a podcast. That's still mind-blowing to me. But yeah, I'll stop talking now.
I feel like those little chairs held some big ideas.
That was absolutely perfect. Thank you both so much for that. That was, I mean, just, I wasn't an OG member of SHOUT, and just hearing the story of like how everything got started, it's mind-blowing to me too. You guys are so cool, and I'm so excited to be a part of this organization, honestly. Okay, our next question is for Snow. What is SHOUT's mission? When you were sitting in those little chairs, what did you really think was going to be, like, what is SHOUT's purpose, and why is it so important for everyone to know about SHOUT and have SHOUT?
All right, I want to start off by reading you our official mission, and then I'll try to explain what it means to me and all of our members. So our mission is to create a diverse, inclusive, and equitable school environment for everyone, to ensure the establishment and upkeep of culturally responsive safe spaces and promoting an overall accepting and friendly environment. And we're just here to let people know that they are welcome and they're very much appreciated. And we just want to use our handprints to be the helping hand for others that most of us never actually had.
I can understand that. I really can. And I don't want to go too much into detail about like my story or anything, but you know, I do feel like South Fayette is not as an inclusive place as it totally should be, and I think that's why SHOUT is so important, because it needs to be more inclusive than it actually is. And I'm kind of interested, Snow, can you tell us a little bit more about your story and why you decided to start SHOUT too? Because now I'm interested.
Yeah, of course. I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, so I've been here my whole life, but I never really felt the effects of social injustices until my freshman year of high school. Which is when I first started to wear a hijab and when I first switched schools. So it was a completely new environment for me, and it was a completely new feeling because it was a very big decision in my life. And because I started wearing a hijab, people were able to see that I was Muslim before they even got to meet me, which led to a lot of people having prejudices and just ideas about me without even knowing who I was, or like they didn't even know my name. And I feel like when I first came to the school, I felt very excluded. And I feel like a lot of the things that made me feel excluded were like microaggressions. It wasn't like most people weren't actually saying anything. It was just the way that they were acting, even if it was unconscious and they weren't doing it on purpose. There was one incident where a group of people like yelled outside of their car while I was walking to my house, and they told me to go back to my country. And it just felt so weird that these people that didn't even know who I was, didn't know my name, they didn't know the first thing about me, and they were telling me to go back to my own country when this was my country. I was born here, I was raised here. This is my home. And I feel like that is what triggered me to start SHOUT with Yam, because I knew what it felt like to have that feeling of not being welcome, and I wanted to make sure that nobody else ever felt that way.
I'm really sorry that ever happened. It shouldn't have to happen, you know, and I want to commend you. I think you're really courageous for starting SHOUT after going through all that. So Money claps to you guys, honestly.
Thank you.
So a money clap is, we like to think it's like it's a rich people clap. Is that what we think it is? Yeah. Okay. It's like it's like a rich people clap. So every time we think there's something good, we all clap like this. I think that's really cool. Something valuable, right? Thank you. Okay. Our next question is directed towards Dr. Herring, but again, feel free to jump in if you have anything to add. What are some achievements and accomplishments that SHOUT has received?
Well, first and foremost, I'm just like really excited to be here. Just thinking about where we were when we started back in October of 2019, it's mind blowing to think of the leaps and bounds that we've taken through part of the way prior to the pandemic and post, well, not even post pandemic, all the while through the pandemic, we've been growing exponentially. It's really been an amazing accomplishment to watch not only Snow and Yam grow, but watching Audie and you, Mia, Samiha, and we are in 9 other schools, which is crazy. So just to see that, this is so phenomenal. But some of the accomplishments that we've achieved, well, first and foremost, we're in 9 other schools. So that's a heck of an accomplishment. People actually see what we're doing and are buying into the idea and the vision. And the vision of SHOUT, just so I can explain that really quickly before I talk about our other accomplishments, is that, you know, most places when you're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion or social justice, they typically focus on affinity groups. You know, you have one group, so it might be the Gay Straight Alliance, it might be the Black Student Union, the Muslim club, the Indian club, whatever. And what we decided to do is we saw that there were like 3 or 4 issues that kids who are disenfranchised or on the margins have all dealt with. And it's like, why are we trying to do this separately? Why don't we do this all together? And I think that's what caused the traction for us to be able to grow like we have been, because there are so many kids who are, you know, as the philosopher Thoreau said, living lives of quiet desperation, thinking that they're all by themselves, thinking that they're all alone. And they don't realize that there's so many people out here that want to support them. They just don't know that these people are living these really troubling lives. So again, first thing, we've grown tremendously. Second of all, we've done so many things to give kids agency or power to be able to speak their voice and to be able to be really co-constructors of their own education and being able to basically speak truth to power. And one of the things that we were able to do is just Thursday, we had virtual Harrisburg Day. We actually set up with our state legislators, state and national legislators, and we were able to have a panel discussion where we had people from Governor Wolf's office, we had people from Senator Casey's office, and we also had State Senator Lindsey Williams on the call, and they were there for 2 hours to really get grilled by a bunch of, I say this lovingly, hyper-aggressive teenagers. No, but it was phenomenal because you kept them on their toes and they really had to think about the questions that you were asking and give you really good in-depth answers and replies. So definitely money clap to you guys for doing that, because that is something that most kids wouldn't even have the audacity to think to do. And you guys not only thought about doing it, you did it. So that was definitely huge. We also had a really amazing event a few months ago, which was our Religions of the World event. Again, what we're really trying to do is just showcase that we're much more alike than we are different. And so we had panelists from 7 different religions We had Hindu, we had Islam, we had Greek Orthodox, we had Catholicism, we had Christian Baptist, we had Judaism, and we had Zoroastrianism. And to be perfectly frank, I had never heard of Zoroastrianism, but apparently, according to the research that I did, it's the oldest monotheistic religion, period. I was like, really? I'd never heard of it. And people were really celebrating this and living the tenets of it. And we found that basically the tenets of all of these religions are very much the same. It's like, so again, no matter, it reminds me of a saying that we always say, there's more than one way to get to New York. If the goal was to get to whatever you call heaven, nirvana, or whatever, there's more than one way to get there. And it's like, let's not judge people based off of the path that they're taking to get to the ultimate place. So that was something that was really amazing. As the team shared earlier, one of the major milestones that we did, we actually wrote a book. I mean, if you guys want to show, I have several copies back here. They're for sale. If you want to put that up in the chat, just have people, they can go ahead and put in their order forms or whatever, just saying that they want to get the books. It's great. It's the book is set up 4 parts. The first part is we talk about a footprint that they felt on their heart or felt that they were given, and a handprint that was there to offset the footprint, or they may have even given someone a footprint. So that was really great. And then we also have, not only that, we have why I decided to become a part of this organization. And then we have steps. Part 3 is steps that any school or community club can decide to start a SHOUT club in their spaces. And then the final section is just DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion, social justice terms, just so we're speaking a common language. So that's phenomenal. We had a Black Lives Matter rally, which was great. That came about because we had a young lady who was in 8th grade at the time, who was, during the beginning parts of the pandemic, we stayed together. We had movie nights, we had game nights, we just stayed connected. And in the between time, unfortunately, we were having the very, very, very public killings of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and then George Floyd. And that was almost like the straw that broke the camel's back. And we had a young lady, one of our original members, who was only in 8th grade at the time, but she was frightened, but she was also angry, and she wanted to do something. And she went to her big sister, Yamini Yapuri, who was graduating, and said, she came to all of us. And then Yam actually said that she was going to help her do this. And she walked her through the steps of setting up a rally by getting permits to go and have the park, by going to the police officers and having them be there in case something happened, going to the EMTs and they're having EMTs there in case we had a medical emergency. And then they also talked to 5 Black students on campus and had the Black students share their stories, which were very powerful. And they actually got a lot of people understanding some of the things that are going on, because most people don't want bad things to happen to other people, but they just are living their lives. And so if they're just living their lives and they know that there's things that are happening in their lives that seem like, mountains until there's a saying, it's like, I once complained about not having any shoes until I met the person with no feet. It's like, wow. Yeah, I guess I'd rather have feet. You know what I mean? It's when people started hearing about these challenges that the kids were going through, they really wanted to be involved, and that really helped us grow as well. So, I mean, I talked about a lot. There's a ton of other things that we have. We won awards. We won the Allegheny Conference on Human Relations Award, and we won. Giant Eagle Get-Go gave us a $7,000 grant. We won an award from the Green Building Alliance. So we've just done so many great things. I could just go on, but I'm going to stop right now because I'm sure that you guys have a ton of other questions.
One thing that I realized when Shout fully started is it started like the actual name and like the kicking stone started really before the BLM rally and even after the BLM rally, because all of our ideas after that, because that was our total popularity, like that big event kind of like put us out there. And during that summer, we also had the idea of writing the book, and here we are right now. And really, all of these events, they're like pieces to a puzzle, but the puzzle's not done yet. So it's going to keep on going forever. I mean, until the world ends, which I hope that doesn't happen now. But it's just, I've witnessed Shout grow this entire time. I started for the first ever event when we had all of our original members, when we had our field trips to the GBA events. I remember those, all the photos that we had, all the handprints we made. And I really can't put it into words. It's just spectacular. I'm speechless, really. It's just the way that Shout has grown ever since only 8 members. 8 members started this core foundation. And here we are. We have 50 members. We have 9 schools. We are known in the state of Pennsylvania. We are known almost an entire region. We're almost, hopefully, gonna go nation internationally. And I'm just excited and just speechless about this.
If I could add on to that, like, we say all these things, everything that Dr. Herring has mentioned so far, it seems like we've done this over like a period of time, but no, that all of this happened over the span of like less than 2 years. Especially like when you talk about the BLM rally, when you talk about the book, all of that was happening simultaneously. When you talk about the Religions of the World event and the Harrisburg event, all of that was happening simultaneously. I think like something very important to mention is how like each event that like even after Snow and I graduated and like, you know, started focusing more on like college and stuff, each event brought the organization together. Like that organization and, you know, the planning for everything, it brings people together. And I've really been seeing that. And like, I think it's just amazing how Shout has organically like grown. Before we only had like, you know, 8 members, so we all kind of did everything. And then all of a sudden now you have like different committees. You guys will have to like facilitate me on this, but they're like event coordination committees. There's like public PR committee, and Adi, you had your historian, and there's just like a bunch of things that organically happen. And like I get messages every day where it's like, this meeting's happening now from like all like different committees. And it's just, all of you students are so proactive in what you do. And so this is what you really want to do, and you're showing your passion for it. And I think that's the most important thing that like keeps the traction going. Because the reason Snow and I really started this was because we were passionate, and we weren't doing this just to do it. You know, we were doing it because we wanted to do it, and we wanted to see change happen. And I see that same fire in all of you, all of our active members, because like you're setting up those meetings, those hour-long meetings every week, or like twice a week, thrice a week if you have to. You guys are just incredible, really.
They are incredible. They are doing an amazing job. And not to, you know, I don't believe in de-edifying, but I want to make sure that everybody knows that we have 10 chapters. And yeah, 9 new chapters we have, because we're still a chapter. And we have well over 100 members, because we have, you know, we have 20 plus active members here at South Fayette. And but we have, and actually this podcast really germinated from the Avonworth chapter. They really have fleshed out the framework for that. So that's something that we learned. But the Seneca Valley chapter is doing amazing work. Kiski area is doing amazing work. Fox Chapel, Chartiers Valley. We've just brought on board Canon Mac. So we have in the schools with the IU. I mean, it's it's just amazing. And everybody, each of us needs all of us in order to be successful. And so we're all tying in to this one spoke, which is Shout. But Shout is everywhere because everywhere needs things like this. We all need to have a culturally responsive, safe space to feel like, just basically imagine you guys now, thinking back on your younger selves, if you didn't have the thoughts of, I need to protect myself emotionally and sometimes even physically, if you didn't have to think about that, what kind of great things that your mind would have been free to do. And so if we can help people, not have to worry about protecting themselves, again, emotionally, physically, whatever, and then just focus on being the best versions of themselves, becoming their authentic selves in schools, in the workplace, in the community, we can really make some, not just positive impacts, but just some lifelong changes. And that's what the goal is for Shout, in my opinion.
I want to add on to that. I feel like, just like Yam said, this has all been happening and it's only been like not even 2 years yet. And just to think that like less than 2 years ago, most of us didn't even know each other and we were all going through these things alone for the most part. And just to think that in less than 2 years, we've come this far, we've been able to have this many chapters and affect like so many people's lives. And just like Adi said, it makes me speechless as well, just to think of how much has happened in so little time. And I really think that this is not just like a club or a committee anymore. Like, it's a family and we're all here for each other. We're all building each other up. And it's just like a extremely positive environment. And I'm just really happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here too.
One question that actually was not even planned is, how did the book idea even start? All I know is that it was a really interesting story about how we thought of the idea of the book. So whoever wants to talk about it.
I'll take that, because what was going on the last summer was really heavy. And I could see it weighing on you guys. I mean, it was weighing on me. I mean, I'm an adult and I've dealt with a lot of trauma throughout my life. And you guys were experiencing a lot of trauma, but you were experiencing it in HD on TV, on your YouTubes and Snapchats and Instagrams and everything else. So you were really experiencing it. And so I just thought it would be cathartic. I thought it would be, really great to be able to say, hey, write down your thoughts, write down your ideas. And that's where I came up with the framework of, handprints and footprints. If you had to deal with a footprint, write about it, get it out of your body. Now let's talk about the handprints that came along with that to help you, and then why are we together? So that's the reason why we did it. And I remember, I don't know who asked the question, but somebody says, do you really think we could write a book? And I said, of course we can. Do you know how many horrible books are written every year? And I said, do you know that we are going to write a book and I promise you that it's not going to be horrible? And guess what? Our book is amazing. It's way, 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 way better than, I knew it was going to be great, but I didn't know it was going to be this great. To be quoted, have two of our students directly quoted in a national article. Actually, we just had a couple of students interviewed about the book this week. So it's just like, wow, this is so crazy. You guys did an amazing job. And so money clap to you. But it was really all about just getting you guys to be able to have a release for all the tension and the stress that we were all dealing with, and still dealing with to a certain degree at that time.
I was actually going to say before, like, I asked Dr. Herring, I was like, well, at first he was like, yeah, let's write some chapters, let's write a book. And I was like, are you kidding? Are you really going to write a book? And I was like, okay, I'll do this. I was like, I started writing. And then I genuinely got into it and I was really enjoying writing about my feelings. And the thing is, I hadn't like known a lot of these things about my fellow, organization members until I had read the book. Like there were so many things I learned about them and like why they're here. And I thought that was really important, not only for the world to hear, but like, for all of us to hear as well, to rekindle that passion we have.
I remember, as me being a historian, I always organize documents, and I actually watched back that video, and that was actually one of our first ever videos. I think it was after our meeting with Dr. Greg Norris, who, if you guys don't know, is a Harvard and MIT professor who made the handprints and footprints concept. So after the meeting, I forgot whose voice it was because it was, I don't know what happened to the video itself, but someone just said, how about if we write a book? And I was shocked. I was like, okay, we can write a book. I mean, it's possible, but I never expected it to be like an actual full idea. And then a lot of people got on the track of it. They're like, okay, let's write this book, write this book. And I was at first thinking like, I don't think this would be possible. That's actually was my initial reaction. Like, I don't know if we're able to do this. But after promoting and encouragement, along with just telling my story, I mean, we have this book full of hundreds of stories, and sorry if it's a little bit blurred, hundreds of stories, and I had no clue, like what Yam said, I have never seen, I had no clue about some of our members, what have they been through. Like, I had no clue about Samiha, who actually wrote in the book. I didn't know her story. I didn't know one of our co-chairs, Zach Betts. And it really touched me, and especially reading through them all. But I knew that there is change that we can make. And I knew that this book was and will be possible. And as Dr. Herring mentioned a little bit earlier, and also we mentioned this a lot, this is not just the end. Like, it's not going to be one book. There's going to be several books of other chapters, other members of Shout at SF. It's going to be like a series almost.
I have the list right here. Actually, the list is, we talk about the Raise Your Voice, and it's going to be like Chicken Soup for the Soul. And how you have all these different chicken soup for the souls. We have Shout talks about race. Shout talks about homophobia, transphobia. Shout talks about xenophobia. Shout talks about ableism. Shout talks about Islam and other religious phobias. Shout talks about sexism and whatever else we want to talk about. We're going to write chapters, and then it's not just going to be South Fayette now. We're going to actually be able to have the other chapters become involved, and then what we can do is have people write, and then we can have a committee and pick and choose, some of the best ones that we put into the book, but yet and still, then we can take some of the others and put them into a blog. And it's just really going to be able to get all the kids' voices out here, because like we say, Shout isn't it's not a social justice club. It's really a leadership organization wrapped inside of a social club. And getting back to Dr. Norris, who is an incredible person who came up with the handprints framework, because footprints were something that they talked about already. He is an environmentalist, and and he was talking about, like you said, the carbon footprints, the water footprints, and using a handprint to offset it. And then basically, we took this and turned it into social justice, so it's like we took that framework and that idea and said, okay, we're going to take and lift this whole concept and put it into this area right here. And now think about it. When people talk about handprints and footprints, they're talking about something that we really were able to get it out there. Give you a case in point. I spoke to, I've been talking to Pine Richland, and they're utilizing the Handprints Hill Footprints framework for one of their trainings coming up in next month. Like for all of the faculty, all 300 of their faculty and staff are going to be going through a Handprints Hill Footprints training. speaking to major companies, and they're utilizing the Handprints Hill Footprints framework. So this is something that we're able, they're like, if these kids can do this and they're seeing what's going on, it's amazing. And just taking it back a little bit further, I'm spending a lot of time with the Pennsylvania Department of Education, the PDE. And now, you know, it's really hilarious because you guys spoke to them back in, I want to say September, October, and we taught them about the money clap. So I've spoken to them several times since then. Every time somebody says something of value. So we're changing the culture. We're changing the culture, and we're making this these covenants, these community covenants of making the world a better place. That's what it's all about for us. So again, you guys are out there getting the word out there. It's phenomenal to see.
Thank you guys for answering those questions. It really means a lot that, you know, we get to hear from the original members who started SHOUT. I'm really interested to see, like, we have all of these achievements. Where are we gonna go with what's our future plans? What achievements do we want to get? What's the next big thing here? And I think me and Audie are gonna talk.
So we have so many events coming up, and I actually have to look at the list right now to see how many events, because there's so much. One of the events that is coming up, which by the time of this video, it might be past or it might be happening, which is our Divine 9 event. It is on February 18th, 2021. All the information will be in the description of this video, but it's in the month of February. It is Black Heritage Month, Black History Month, rather. And we're going to have tons of speakers from several sororities. And Dr. Herring, if you want to talk a little bit more in detail about that, please.
Absolutely. Thank you, Audie. It's definitely going to be exciting. Talking about Black History Month and Divine 9. And what we want people to understand is that Black history is not just Black history. It's really just history, you know, history of America, history of the world, and history, particularly of this country. There are, we know certain stories, but when we hear these certain stories, you have to realize that there were women there were Black people there were Asian people there were indigenous people, and they were all there, but somehow, some way, their stories weren't part of the main stories. So that's the reason why we have things such as Black History Month. So, but really, I just want the main thing I want everyone to understand is that it's just history. So, but the Divine 9 event is something that I'm really excited about because Black Greek letter organizations over the last 115 years or so have been doing some amazing things for the entire country. There are 9 organizations, beginning with Alpha Phi Alpha, which I happen to be a member of. I'm super honored and excited about being a member of this organization. The organization was founded in 1906, and it is a part of a network of super brilliant, super conscientious, and just amazing people who have done so many things over the course of the past 100+ years. So, for example, we have Alpha Phi Alpha. Some of the members that you may know of from Alpha Phi Alpha, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. You have the Honorable Thurgood Marshall. You have Jesse Owens and people like that. Some members of the next fraternity, you have Kappa Alpha Psi. We have actually Dr. Clyde Pickett is a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. We have Omega Psi Phi, and people don't know that, like, you know, famous people such as Michael Jordan is a member of Omega Psi Phi. We have Phi Beta Sigma. You have several famous members from there, like Emmett Smith from the Dallas Cowboys. And then you have Iota Phi Theta. And so we have, those are the 5 fraternities. And then we have 4 sororities, beginning with Alpha Kappa Alpha in 1908. And Alpha Kappa Alpha is the first sorority. And it's also something I'm really excited to say, that we have the first female vice president who happens to be Black and Indian. She is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Then we also have Delta Sigma Theta, where you have people such as Maya Angelou and others who are members of that sorority. Then you have Sigma Gamma Rho and Zeta Phi Beta. And so those are the 4 sororities. And so we have these people and it's all about history. So everything that's happened in history over the last 100 years, somebody from the Divine Nine has been a part of it, which is really cool. And it's like just being a part of that heritage of being able to stand on the shoulders of giants. And so every time I think about being a part of this organization, I'm like, man, I am in the same club as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. How cool is that? So it's just a phenomenal it's going to be a phenomenal event, I should say. And you're going to learn a lot about the history and the things that we do with service projects. Have a lot of fun, but we help a lot of people at the same time. So February 18th, we expect you guys to be there. It's going to be a huge event that we're hosting with the Green Building Alliance, and it's just going to be amazing. So with that, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Herring. That was awesome. I'm quite excited to do all the promoting and the social media aspect of that one. I think it's going to be really fun to do all the graphics and then the actual event. It's going to be incredible to watch and hear some of these stories. Our next big event that's still kind of in the works, and personally I don't know too much about, but just by the title, I'm super excited about it, is our Women's Her Story event in March. Basically, it touches on women's history. Like, honestly, I'm not, like I said, this is still in the works. I'm not too sure about this event. Dr. Herring, do you have any information at all that you can give us about it?
Absolutely. So that's something that I always talk about. Again, when history is happening, women are there. It's not like, they're just all sitting somewhere, I don't know, churning butter or knitting or something. I don't know. They're actually a part of the actual happenings. And so what I'm really excited about is for Women's Her Story Month is that last year we were going to do this, but because of the pandemic, we didn't. We were going to celebrate the 100-year anniversary of women getting the right to vote. I mean, that's really mind-boggling to me. But what's even going to really just blow your mind out right now is that we're also celebrating the 57th anniversary of Black and Brown people getting to vote, or 56th, I'm sorry. And so what does that mean? We have the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, was born in 1964. The Voting Rights Act wasn't signed into law until 1965. So she is the Vice President of the United States right now, but she was born into a country where she didn't have the right to vote. That's amazing. That's amazing. So we're going to be talking about those types of things and a bunch of other stuff right now. And you guys are going to be a big part of planning. So we just got through the Harrisburg event. We're going to start planning for the Women's Her Story Month and wrapping up what we're doing for the Black History Month with the Divine Nine. So a lot of things are continuing. So I'm just really excited about all of this. I do want to say this too. Just talking about Black History Month, which will be coming up beginning on Monday. We'll be starting Black History Month at South Fayette. I've had the honor and fortune to be able to work with teachers from kindergarten through 8th grade. We have actually established just some intentional lessons around Black history that just aren't, this person did this person did that. We're really diving in and telling some really amazing stories and having the kids really think about some amazing activities that they can do. And so through kindergarten through 8th grade, we have this whole thing set up. In the high school, it's a little bit more challenging because there's 14 different departments and everybody is doing a bunch of different things, but yet and still the teachers are really excited about this. And so they've become more intentional about speaking to who is not in the room when we have these conversations. They're speaking to well, this actually is happening, but this person was there too, who really helped these things occur. If it wasn't for this person being there, then this wouldn't have worked out that way. So they're able to speak to it in a way not as explicit as what we were able to do in K-8, but yet and still we're working towards being able to say, you know, we're going to celebrate Black History Month. We're going to celebrate Women's Her Story Month. We're going to celebrate Autism Awareness Month, but we're going to celebrate them in conjunction with, we're going to be talking about it all year long. So that's what I'm really excited about. And that's something that we were able to do. And you guys were a big part of that because you guys aired your grievances about some of the things that you were having challenges with while you were in school and saying, we need to have these things. So I was able to take your valuable contributions to the administration and be able to say, this is what the students want. These are the things that they want. And so the administration is able to listen, and now look at what we're doing. So again, congratulations to you. Let me give you the money clap for that.
But I just like, this was always the end goal, like to change classrooms, to change like education to fit like what it really should be. So I think that's so cool. And like to also add on to that, I'm seeing like a cultural shift at Pitt as well, that like, I don't think this is like an administration thing, but more like a teacher to teacher thing where a lot of like my bio professor, my psych professor are including like disclaimers that like, you know, this isn't the full picture. There are a lot of people who contributed to this who like weren't a part of like the textbooks, who weren't really acknowledged. And I think it's so important. Like Snow and I are only seeing this now in college, but you're starting from like kindergarten, like elementary school, middle school. And it's important to really ingrain that because that's how you get rid of these biases that kids have, right? So it's incredible.
So I just wanted to say that me and Yam are planning on starting a chapter at Pitt, and I have been talking to a lot. I've been talking to a lot of students at Pitt about what we're doing at South Fayette and like throughout all of our chapters and like everything that's been going on. And without me even saying that we were going to start a chapter at Pitt, there have been so many people that have come to me and said, what you're doing is amazing and we should really start one. Or if you start one at Pitt, like we would be interested in becoming a part of it and being a part of this change. So I think it's going to be amazing and I can honestly not wait at all. Yam, did you want to say anything else about that?
No, I think that's perfect. I'm just like so excited. I'm like bouncing, but yeah.
So that is actually one of our goals in the future, to try to establish the University of Pittsburgh as one of our SHOUT chapters. It's still in the works, but hopefully soon we can have that fully established. And one of our other and almost final big events that we have not planned but coming up in the future is our Uncommon Conference. And originally this was supposed to be scheduled in June of 2020, around that time frame, but sadly, due to the coronavirus pandemic, we couldn't do that. But this Uncommon Conference, and feel free to jump in, Dr. Herring, it's gonna be a very big event with different cultures. There's gonna be, and I'm basing this all upon last year's planning. We are gonna have several different food trucks with different types of food. We're gonna have cultural dances, from African dancing to Indian dancing. It's going to be almost like a festival to show all of the religions and kind of like showing like that there's a community in South Fayette that is there. And like, if you're not, like, especially in for students, especially if you're not accepted, there is an entire community supporting you through this. And it's just an amazing event, but sadly it got canceled. But Dr. Herring, feel free, and also our founders, feel free to jump in and add in more details regarding this.
Well, thank you, Adi, just for sharing that, and really excited about where we are. One of the things that I want to talk about, it's like, even when we talk about the different cultures, we're also talking about people who have different capabilities. You know, that's a big part of it. People who have who are on the gender continuum, the sexuality continuum. They're part of our communities as well. So again, just it's really a celebration of the diversity that we can see and that we can't see. And so we're going to have some great speakers. We're going to do some things, and even if we have to be virtual, still we're going to it's going to be amazing. Like I said, we're going to be working on. We were going to have dancers on campus. Maybe we can have dancers in their own dance studio and then live stream them in. So we can do that. We may just have someone teaching us different line dances, different types of so super excited about that. Because we're getting really used to and comfortable with this technology, so we're going to have some activities, the breakout rooms, and you guys are going to do a lot of the planning of this. So you're going to make this stuff happen. I'm just going to just be hanging out, learning from y'all. And, and I'm breaking into my straight up old school when I'm with my friends slang. Yeah, y'all going to teach me a lot about this. So no, it's going to be phenomenal. I'm really excited. It's going to be Religions of the World on steroids, Divine Nine on steroids. It's just going to be so much fun. So we're going to probably do it's going to be at least a day, maybe a day and a half. Or we may even do something even more just because we can do it. It's uncommon. We might just do like 3 hours one day, 3 hours another day, or something like that, instead of trying to fit 6 hours into one day. So just to do it, we can do that because it's easy. We have this, especially if we're still going to be virtual. If we're going to be on campus, we will have the food trucks and all that other stuff too. So there's a lot of trying to figure this out as far as, because we don't know where we're going to be in June. I'm thinking we probably will still be pretty virtual, but just on the safe side, but we'll plan a little bit for both.
I did want to add, last year, based on what we were planning, the reason it's called an uncommon conference is because it's uncommon. You don't usually do the things that we wanted to do in this conference. We were supposed to have interactive activities like discussion. It was supposed to be a very informal space in which you could learn and not be afraid of making mistakes when you're learning. And that was the whole point of it. It was really sad when we had to go all virtual and it didn't happen. But Dr. Herring recently told me that it's happening again. And y'all better add me into the planning group chat because I want to be a part of this.
You are a big part of it.
Definitely. I feel like there were so many things that I was so excited to be a part of. So I definitely want to be a part of the planning as well. And just like Yam said, there were so many different things that we were planning on having, like the social justice escape rooms. I feel like no one's ever really done those before. So I was really excited about that. And the Optic Voices photography by Ime Alaquiva.
Ime Alaquiva, yes.
Yes, I got it. But there were so many different things that we were planning on having, and I'm so excited to put it all back in action and have this conference.
Can I just say that was muscle memory, because whenever Snow and I we would go to the GBA, whatever organizations, and we'd be talking to people, we'd always have this last slide. We were this is what we're gonna do, and it was always Snow's line to go Optic Voice because it was her favorite event that we were gonna do. So I could tell that she got excited all over again.
Yes, I just had that energy just rekindle all of a sudden.
I am now super excited for the Uncommon Conference, and I'm going to be added to the planning group chat too. This sounds so much fun. And you started talking about food trucks, and now I'm hungry. But I'm as excited as I am about the Uncommon Conference. This isn't going to be our only conference. We are going to have so many more events in the future. Just off the top of my head, thinking about it, we have our annual Handprints, Seal Footprints event. That's probably either going to be in November or next January. Just kind of thinking about that range there. And then we have maybe a second annual Religions of the World event, and I'm really excited for that one. But we're gonna have so many more events in the future, and it's really incredible to see how amazing and how many events that Shout puts on every year, and we're not stopping. We got to keep moving. But if you would like to sign up for any of our future events, you can check the link in the description, or you can check the link in any of our social media bios, and those will be there. Signups and descriptions, everything that you need to know about future events. Well, I think that is just about all the time that we've got for this episode, unless anybody wants to add just a little bit more about like upcoming events, or, you know, anything that you want to add at all.
I'm just really excited to see where Shout is going, and just to be in a world where our handprints truly heal all footprints.
I think that definitely deserves a money clap. Money clap, excuse me. That was that was amazing, and I completely agree. Does anybody else want to add like any final thoughts, any closing thoughts?
I second that. Definitely that's what we should be working toward, like Snow said, a world where our handprints outnumber our footprints. But also, I wanted to say how proud I am of Shout and what it has become. Like going from, like, okay, first of all, you guys are working through a pandemic, which is hard in itself, and like adults aren't capable of doing this. And yet you guys are staying motivated and you're doing well in school. You go to school every day. That in and of itself is an achievement. Yet you prioritize this, and that you guys are so talented and hardworking and motivated. And it's very inspiring for me, and I know for Snow as well, because we always talk about how Snow put this really well the other day. She was like, I'm really homesick for Shout, and I agree with that. But you guys have flawlessly and gracefully transitioned from like primarily Snow and I speaking at events to all of you just taking charge, even though you're still so like young and still so like, it's incredible. I said that like 3 times today, but I'm genuinely like, speechless. You guys are amazing, and I'm proud of all of you. And Dr. Harry, we miss you.
I miss you guys too, for real. And I will say something. I just really am just really proud of the transition of leadership, because I was really, really sad, and I'm still sad that Snow and Yam are in college. But you know, that's what it is. You have to move on and do your thing. But for you guys to really help prepare the next group to come up. And that's what leadership is. Leadership is really about being able to set up a foundation and then leave a legacy for people to be able to follow. And you two ladies did that. And you guys are building your own, Mia, Adi, you're building your own legacy for people to follow. So I'm just really excited about what has transpired and what is going to happen in the future. So thank you guys. You guys are doing a phenomenal job.
I think we need to be the ones thanking you guys, honestly, because none of us could leave our legacy or plan our legacy without you guys planning and leaving your legacy. So money clap to you guys for helping us build our legacies. Thank you. But if that's definitely it, then that's all the time that we have for this episode. If you want to see more of the Shout podcast, or if you want to see any of our live streamed events, you can go to our YouTube page, which is in our bio, and you can click on any of the videos there, and all of our social medias are also in the description. So please go check us out. Follow us on all our social media platforms. Go sign up for our future events. Go buy our book. Go buy the book for sure. Go buy the book. It is absolutely incredible, and I am also very proud of everybody who has been working in Shout. It's been absolutely wonderful being here. But that's it for now. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you.